Good morning and welcome to America's Home Cooking. I am going to show you how to correct a mistake when you're making bread, because it does happen. When you cook a lot, sometimes you forget to put the yeast in, and I'm going to intentionally do it. So, because I've heard people say, oh God, I forgot to put the yeast in, and they trash it and start all over from scratch. You don't have to do that, and I'm going to show you what you can do to compensate when you make that kind of mistake. And if you notice, most of my breads, I never put the full amount that they tell me to put in. Like this one says 4 to 5 cups. I might put 4 to 4.5. I'm very prone to doing this. Now, before I do that, there's somebody I wish to speak with. Listen, cooking is not just visual. Cooking is also learning the terminologies, because a lot of recipes don't have pictures on them. So what you have to do is learn the terminologies, and this is what I keep on trying to do and show people. Sometimes when I'm putting stuff in a bowl, I tell you I'm just putting it in a bowl and that's it. There's no reason for you to see me put it in the bowl, but when I start doing the work with it, I will show you. So don't get upset about it. Understand that I'm showing you in the fact that you've got to learn the terminologies to understand what you have to do at the same time. Because when I was learning, it was visual, it was hearing, and being able to speak that language. And this is why I developed the way I did, so now I can advance much, which I have advanced much further than my mother's cooking, because she made sure that I knew how to speak the language, I knew how to understand the language, and I had the visual to make the relationship to it. So when you see these recipes and they're written like this, and there's no picture, you say, what is it going to look like? You know, you don't know. So you have to be able to understand it as well as just visual. All right, so remember, on this recipe, I'm going to forget to put the yeast in, so I can sit there and show you how to correct it so you don't have to throw everything out and start all over again. All right, this wants 1 3/4 cups of warm water. Now I am going to sit there and use my cultured discard. Now it's not gonna make the bread rise, because if I did, it would take, hold on, I need a tissue. If I was using my sourdough discarded stuff, I know for a fact that it would be 12 hours of rising and stuff like that. So it's not going to affect what I'm doing. I just want that slight sour taste in my French bread. So that's why I'm going to do that. But you need 1 3/4 cup water. I'm going to be adding 1 cup of my culture discard and 3/4 cup of water. Now if you're just using plain water, please warm it up. And when I say warm, or they say tepid, what they're talking about body temperature. If you cannot feel the heat and you cannot feel the chill, it's at 98.6. It's body temperature. It'll work quite well at that temperature. Don't let anybody tell you differently, because I do it all the time. Though they say that, oh, they want it at 105, 103, and no, body temperature is very happy with. When I've done enough of this, I know what I'm talking about. And like I said, bread is my specialty. Like my mother said, I came out of the chute knowing of bread. Bread and I got along. I know people say that's stupid. No, that was my mother. She said, I messed up on the first loaf, and I was learning to make. This was an actual bread recipe that I actually learned on, was French bread. Let me add my water. Not quite. Okay. I am so hungry this morning, but I've got to get this started to show you, because I know it's very important that you learn this. Because sometimes when women get busy in the kitchen, we do this, and I have done it more than once. The first time, I threw it out and I said, no, there's got to be a better way to doing this. Because I didn't want to throw everything out. Okay, that's your 1 3/4 cup of water. All right. we need 1 tablespoon of oil. I would use my all blend, but I can't. I've got to make it. So I got to take the oils out and let them get to room temperature so I can make my all blend oil. Okay. Salt. 2 teaspoons. You think I would remember this recipe as much as I've made it, but I don't. I almost have a personal vendetta against it. And that's a sad thing to say. It's like I have a personal vendetta against it. I have to read this recipe, you know. Oh, God. All right, now I've put everything in the bowl. The salt, the oil, the water, whereas I used a mixture of my discard and water. Okay, we got all that going. Got it? Yeah, okay. We're gonna move down. No, we didn't put any yeast in this because this is gonna be like I made a mistake. I'm intentionally gonna make this mistake to show you how you can correct it. Because sometimes you're cooking, right? And you've got all this going like this. And something happens and you have to answer the phone, or you have to go do something and you come back, or the children are arguing and you have to deal with that. Or somebody calls and they have a problem and you get on the phone and you start talking and you forget what you've put in here. But it looks like you got everything in it, so you say, okay, that's it. So I'm ready for this. So you say, I'm going to go ahead and add my flour and get it started, and I'm going to start kneading it, you know. Oh, thank God, I'm just about, done. People bother me all the time when I'm cooking. I mean, this goes through our heads as women, you know. I hope the children behave today. I just can't deal with them. If they argue, I'm going to throw them in bed. You know, these are things we go through. Or the repairman comes and then you come back and say, oh God, I can't remember. What was I doing? Where was I? You know, and if you add extra yeast, you're going to find you got a mess. So most people err that they didn't put it in and they throw everything out. But we're not going to do that. I'm going to show you how you can get around that. All right, here's cup number 2. Here's cup number 3. Notice I haven't done anything yet. And you're probably saying, when is she going to add it in? It's getting, like bread. Yeah. Okay. So you start working this, okay? You say, okay, it's time to knead my bread, and we'll get it to rise and get things going here. I mean, we're talking to ourselves in the kitchen because we're working, we know what we're doing, we've got lunch or something going, or breakfast, whatever, but you have other things going in the house. And you got all of your ears in every direction to make sure that you've got your home running really, really smoothly. I'm getting ready to take this out and we'll need it more. Okay? I need that in there for what I'm going to do to show them. Okay. Say, okay, I'll need this. Put hot water in my bowl. Okay, you start kneading. You're going to need all of this. Now, I'm going to actually need all of this to show you. And you're thinking about how good this bread is going to be, and oh, you just can't wait for it. Your family's going to be so happy with the meal. You're laying this meal out in your head, everything else going at the same time, and you're really excited. So you're kneading it and working the flour in, which is what I'm doing right now. Now you notice I haven't used 5 cups of flour, correct? This is very important that you're observing all of this. You're going to actually have to watch me do a lot of this. I'm sorry, the video will be a little longer than normal because I'm going to show you how to correct a mistake. Alright, I'm going to quit kneading right now because other than that you're going to be watching me for like 30 minutes. Okay? My bread is kneaded. It looks good. And everything else, okay? I'm just working this in before we do them, and you realize you've made a mistake. Now, you've taken your bread, you've kneaded it until it's smooth and elastic. Pretend this isn't here, all right? You've greased your bowl. Now you've greased your bowl, and you put your dough in there, you turn it, you oil it, you put it, and you come back an hour later, and it hasn't risen one bit. And then you know, and it goes off in your head, oh, Amber, what is wrong with you? Yes, you and your brother are going to have it out again. Okay, where was I? Oh, and you sit there and say, oh God, I forgot the yeast. And you say, well, what can I do? I have to throw this away. No, you don't. I'm going to show you what you're going to do with it, okay? First thing you're going to do is take it out of the bowl and you're going to flatten it out. You're also going to get about a half a cup of extra flour. You're going to flatten this out, stretch it out, do whatever you want. We're going to get the yeast in here. And it does work, believe it or not. I have had to do it more than once. Because when my sons were younger men, if they were fighting something, I had more of a fight than I wanted. Get your measuring cup. Now you are going to add a fourth or just about 2 tablespoons of water. That's hot. I'm going to get cold water. 2 tablespoons of water is just about what you want. Okay? I have 2 tablespoons of water here. Now we need 2 packets of yeast, or 4½ teaspoons. That's not enough to whistle Dixie. Let's see, how much is that? Well, that's not much at all. Not even half, huh? So you're going to get your yeast now with 2 tablespoons of water, which is 1/4 of a cup. Okay. All right, you got your 2 packages of yeast. Get a fork. You're going to stir this like crazy. Mix it thoroughly up. Now remember, you're not using hot water. You're using body temperature water. And you want it to look like this. You see how I have it? getting rid of those lumps. This is why you spread your dough out. You're going to need about a half a cup flour, so if you don't use the complete amount of flour, you still have flour you can depend upon that you can use, okay? And you're going to notice this is getting thick. Believe you me, I've done this more than once, so I'm not showing you something you can't do. You're going to take that, you're going to rub it around, and what do you think we're going to do? That's right, we're going to start kneading it in. We're going to knead this all over again. At first you're going to have it all over the place, but you're going to have flour there. Put flour, and you're going to start kneading it again. So you take it out and you start kneading it and working that yeast back in. Well, I shouldn't say back in, work the yeast back. Well, put the yeast back into, don't put it back, put it into. God, Sandra. So you just work it back. You're going to work this dough back up again, and this time you've got the yeast in it. The reason you dissolve it, if you don't dissolve it, it won't break down. To do what it has to do is easy. Once you add that little bit of water to it, it will, and you'll see it come back together. And we'll work all this flour in. But I usually, if it happens, I usually just go a half a cup because you're only adding 2 tablespoons of water with the yeast that you forgot to put in. Now you'll have to work a little harder to get this worked into the bread again. But you just work it and work it and work it. And the reason you have to knead it again is yeast likes to be activated, beaten up. You know, so I took the fork and was beating it with that water. Then when you knead it, it all comes together. If you need to add a little more flour, by all means. You do that at any stage of your bread making. And you usually know it when you come back an hour after you set it to rise and it didn't rise because you forgot to add it. I'm just rolling it around to pick up the excess flour on the counter, working it in. See, it's not hard, and I will show you that this will double and that it can be done sometimes when you forget because other things get involved. Not that you look forward to forgetting it, but sometimes it just happens. I have to wash the bowl. I'll be back. Now, if you noticed on the first rise it didn't rise because you forgot to add the yeast, you might have to re-grease your bowl to make sure the dough stays moist and that oil protects it from drying out. So I'm going to grease my bowl. Let me tilt you down. Upside down, twist it, turn it right side, get some towels on it, put it in a warm place, and I will be back when mine doubles and I'll show you that it does work. Okay, let me pick you up and show you. It rose, just like that. So see, that mistake can work. That's how you correct a mistake, as they say. Because most people would throw it out. Now, all I'm going to do is knead it a bit. But you can, if you forget it, just do that. Because I have done it. Matter of fact, I just did it a week and a half ago. I got so busy doing 5 other things. With that, I forgot to add the yeast. And then I said, oh, God. And I went in and took it out of the bowl. And I said, well, you haven't risen, but you're going to. And I did it, and my bread came out beautifully. Matter of fact, I had some of it this morning. It was delicious. Okay, let's get these loaves going. But that was my big thing. I'll make some garlic bread with this. You're going to flatten this out. You'll knead it a bit first, each section. First you knead the whole, then you split it in half and you're going to knead it. And you're going to make this into a rectangle. It's very easy. I see people struggle making shapes, but you don't have to. Definitely pinch your seams together, make sure they stick. Notice I'm not adding any flour or anything. See, if you don't pinch these seams, what's going to happen is it's going to tear open. And then when you try to use it, it tears open. All right, so you're going to roll it about that big. Put it on a cookie sheet. Get the next one. You're going to do the same thing to grease and cornmeal your cookie sheet. I didn't have much cornmeal, so I used grits on it as a bedding. I'll show you. I greased it and then I sprinkled that on. So don't get discouraged if you forget to do it. The yeast, you can do that. You're going to get a bread knife or a blade if you have a blade. You're going to score these. Like I told you, a serrated knife is a bread knife to do with breads. This is what the blades, you see that? It's rigid. These are bread knives. Never go below 1/4 of an inch. If you do, the bread will crack all the way open. The reason you do this is to help let the air out and expand it for its shape. It's not a design. They always say use ice water. I never do. I just use plain water. Oh, that's right, the eggs are in the other bowl. I'm having to remember where some of my stuff is. I told you I have so much stuff going, I don't always remember. Now we're gonna need cold water and we're gonna let these rise right now. It's not gonna take long. Now that we've got them going, they are going to go rather quickly. Just put a towel over them gently and just let them do what they have to do. I like putting 2 towels on them to keep them warm. You might as well set the ovens. I know they're going to go quickly. Set your oven at 400. Make sure your rack is in the middle of the oven. Now, while this is going, you know I've been collecting a lot of vegetable peelings. Let me get them out. I'm going to turn you this way now. I got my slow cooker out. Now listen, if you don't have a slow cooker, you can do this, and if you do not can, I'm going to tell you exactly how you can do it. You put your frozen vegetable peelings in a big pot, fill it with water, bring it to a boil, simmer it for a lot of hours, and then turn it off. Let it cool down because I don't want you to handle it hot. It's just too hot to handle. Then you get a strainer and you put a towel in it. This is for people who are not going to be doing a slow cooker or canning that I'm explaining this to. You put that towel in your strainer and you make sure there's a bowl underneath it to catch all the broth that's going to be coming out. And you pour everything into the towel to get into the bowl. And then what you do is you take that towel, and sometimes towels have holes, that's why I use a strainer and a towel. Then what you do is you're going to squeeze everything out that you can of those peelings. You can bury what's ever left. You can put it in your compost, you can bury it in your yard or whatever you want, or just throw it in the trash. Now, you can put that in a pitcher or a bottle, stick it in the refrigerator, and you can use it all week long until it goes bad. You can cook it in your rice, your gravies, your stews, whatever you're using it, you know, just use it. Now, we don't add any salt, so you can add salt to it, to your taste of it, wherever you're using it. I use it in a lot of things. Even with my pasta water, you've seen me use it. Now, for people who are going to can it, you can it like you do any other stocks, except that you are just using vegetables. Most of you probably have canning books that tell you the size. If you don't, I'll show you tomorrow when I can it, because I'm gonna have this for 24 hours and I'm gonna let it cool and then I'll be canning it. So I've got a big bag. These all are frozen. I just took them out of the freezer. These are all my peelings. Plus more. I get bags of them very quickly. I need 2 refrigerators. I really do. One is not enough. A freezer isn't enough for me because I use so much. I can see why the women had smokehouses and they had big areas where they can, because I got stuff under the beds and closets everywhere. And it's bad. All right, I've got my vegetables in here now. Am I adding salt or pepper or anything? Oh no, those are gonna come up with enough flavor all on their own. Now I'm getting water. Now, if you want to slow cook but you don't can, you can do it the same way I'm doing, except you just don't can it and put it and strain it and everything. The way I told you how I strain is exactly how I strain it. And I squeeze everything out of it. Then I have a lump of, you don't know what. I love the slow cooker because I can leave this and I don't have to keep an eye on it. And it turns itself off. When I wake up, it's done. Well, I'll be up tomorrow because 24 hours will take me tomorrow. But it leaves a nice smell in the house. Power. 24. I want it on low. I'm going to be doing it low. If you turn it on high, all the fluid's going to evaporate, so I leave it on low. So as the vegetables, the frost and stuff, they'll be adding water. And I filled it up all the way as high as I can go because that heat is going to evaporate some, and as the moisture comes out of the vegetables, it replaces it. So I don't have to worry about it drying out. So I use it on low. This will be going for 24 hours. Now, I'll be back in a little bit because I know this is rising very nicely. Okay, our bread is ready to start being cared for. See how fast it rose? Oh, sorry, I'll turn you down more so you can see. See how fast it's rising? Now you're going to brush this with cold water. You don't have to press hard. A lot of people think you have to press hard. No, as long as you get some water on. It's a light brush you do. Hold this water. Now here's the trick. You're going to clock it 15 minutes. Wait a minute. 97. All right, you're going to clock it for 15 minutes. Brush them again with the water. Clock them 10 minutes. Brush them with water again. Clock them 10 minutes. Then you're done, and we move them to the rack. Okay, here they are. There they are. So see, no reason to panic out. If you forget to put the yeast in and you don't find out, and it had been sitting waiting for you to add the yeast to it. It does work. You can compensate for it, and you don't have to throw it out. So listen, have a great day and take care. Bye-bye.